Hey everybody! This is my presentation to you guys for the three indie games I have chosen to say what has inspired me, the dev teams, and everything, and we're going to get into it. I'm really excited to share these games because I have not been able to play as much video games as I would have liked since I have had another baby. So this has kind of forced me to play indie games, and I've kind of fallen in love with a couple of them. So let's get into it. So the first game I'm going to talk to you about is Balatro. For anyone that's in the Discord, you probably saw my comment. This game has taken over my life. I downloaded it for my phone. I cannot get enough of this game. I highly recommend it, but we will get into it, and I'm really excited to also listen to you guys to see what I should be playing. So, all right. So, game type. So, Balatro is a roguelike poker deck builder game. And I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know how else to. Yeah, that's just how I'm going to explain it. This game is very unique. If you guys have ever heard of Slay the Spire or any of those roguelike deck builder games, you would know this archetype, but somebody who's used the essence of poker to do this, and it's phenomenal. I never knew how to play poker, and now I know how to play poker. It is crazy. This game is super fun, but I will get into the next slide. So the history of Balatro, it was released on the 20th of this year. It had some early releases for content creators to get their hands on it, to talk about it, and all that. It is published by PlayStack, and the game developer is called Local Thunk. He's on Twitter. He's a phenomenal dude. Just by listening to him talk about his process and just everything else, it's just a down to earth dude, and it's really cool to see that it is an individual publisher. So to me, that is really cool to see as somebody who doesn't have a lot of game dev friends. It made me feel like I could still do this, So, all right. So about the dev, he is based out of Canada, and he started this development of Balatro 10 years ago. He drew inspirations from Luck Be a Landlord and Slay the Spire. So, like I said, those two were. You have to build up. You go on runs, per se, like quest runs, and your deck gets stronger and stronger per challenge, but each challenge gets more difficult and more difficult. So, and this is his first major release, and it's super cool to see kind of somebody who's put the time and effort into a game he truly believed in, and it worked out. And I believe this game would have more players if more people knew about it, because it is such a phenomenal game. I have not been able to put it down, and I hate to say that because I have two kids, and I have responsibilities with school and a job, but I cannot. Whenever I am doing something and I can just sit there and play on my phone, I am playing this game. I kid you not, it's phenomenal. So the gameplay. So you start with a 52 card playing deck. There's a bunch of different decks that have different starting elements to it. Like the red deck, you get an extra discard hand. The blue deck, you get an extra hand to play. And there's 3 rounds per ante, and you have to complete 8 antes per run before you can get to endless mode. But you do 2 antes, so it usually builds up. It goes 300 to 600, and then you have a boss round that's at 900. And what you're trying to do is each poker hand in the game of poker, like flush, straight, two of a kind, they equate to money, to points, to chips, and the more you combo off with it, the more chips you get. And each time you complete a round, you get to go to the store, and you see up here, these Joker cards, you get to design your deck. So it's like, my deck plays flushes really well, or it plays diamonds, and you have to design your deck and buy cards for your deck to have that archetype. It is, honestly, like I said, I thought poker was boring, and then I played this game and I was like, I have to get a flush of hearts to make this really big combo play, because I have one hand left to beat the boss round, and it's phenomenal. So I'm going to talk, and why it inspires me. It's a super new concept to a unoriginal idea. There's been a couple of deck building roguelike games. Like, I keep bringing up Slay the Spire, but that's one of my favorite games. And it's just a new take on it. I love seeing new takes on old ideas where you're just like, wow, I would never in a million years of decided to make this, like, I would never have had this concept in my head, but it works so well. And when you play it, you're like, this hits really hard. The art and music direction is awesome. It has the same tune, but with different keys. I don't know how to explain it, but it has the same tune that never gets old. The gameplay loop is really good because each run is different. Each build is different because you run into the randomize, right? You don't know what jokers you'll start with. You don't know what upgrades you can get, and it's awesome. It's a game for everybody, so anyone can pick this up and just start playing. The tutorial is phenomenal, and once you play a couple of hands, you're like, wow, okay, I got this, and I need to build my deck. And I would give this rating a 4.5 out of 5. The only thing is I don't like that I can't buy it for one system and keep it for another, so all my hours on my phone won't translate to my computer saving. That's the only thing I would really change, but other than that, I love this game, and I really hope you guys check it out. So, we're going to go to game number 2. So, game number 2 is Mechabellum, and I can't wait to get into this game either. And if anybody knows of a content creator, and I'm sure people do, his name's Bricky, and these last 2 games, I'm a huge fan of Bricky's channel for YouTube. He suggested these 2 indie games to his viewers to play, and I thought, this assignment kind of gave me a reason to play them. So I'm really excited to get into this, especially as somebody who is super into sci-fi. Game type, it's a Mechabellum is a sci-fi auto battler. And what that means is you have it's a 1v1 game where you have rounds where you have to build up your force, and each round you get more cash to build your force, and some units counter other units, and you just have to guess what your opponent's going to bring, and you build an army and fight that other army. And each time you lose health and vice versa to your opponent. So you have to make sure you're winning more than you're losing so you can beat your opponent in this game. History. So it was released on September 26, 2024, and those of you who have been playing Mechabellum for a little bit, it's been an early release since 2022, but it was finally published this September, and it was super big with a huge release. It's published by Paradox Studios, and the dev is Bear-like. So this is a dev based out of Russia. I know this because I read an article where he did an interview with Metal Hamster, and that was a Russian article. So a lot of the content I was able to find was written in Russian, and I'm pretty sure that's where he's based out of. I think I am 99.9% sure I saw that in an article because he was talking about his process. I wish I would have quoted it, but it is a really cool game, and I'm really excited to get into it. So about the dev, so based out of Russia, like I said, and there's a small dev team made up of a husband and wife and some friends that he met in school, which is really cool. And he took inspiration from StarCraft 2 Clash Royale, and he started this game in 2016. This is his first big release and his first release, so I think it's pretty good for his first release. I mean, you're going to see a theme where it's an old idea but reskinned. And I wouldn't even say this is an old idea. Auto battlers, I feel like, have been on the rise, but it is a phenomenal take on an auto battler. Gameplay. So what you do is you start with selecting a commander, and there's a bunch of different commanders everybody select, and each commander has a different way to play the game. Like one of the commanders uses tanks really well, and some other commander has more of a economy that starts off, and you select it, and then you get into game, and most of the time the commander you select is going to be the archetype of the army you're going to really try to push forwards. And then you build up your force. Like I said, there's those rounds, and then you can see what your opponent's running and try to counteract with certain units of the game that'll play better into their army. And then you have to beat the opponent's a certain amount of times to deplete their health bar. So this game really gets addicting when you realize that you can combo certain units. Sorry about that, guys. Like, I've run like a million steel balls, and it's just so funny watching these like wheels just run at the opponent. It's not great. It's not good. It's just funny to see on screen. But there are certain things you could do with this game, and it feels like the possibilities are endless because they keep releasing commanders. The new units are fantastic. I don't. So I guess like I'm having a tough time describing because I know he said he drew inspirations from StarCraft 2, but it's not an RTS game because the game plays itself, but it kind of is because you're building up an army. But yeah, that's the basis of the game. And then why it inspires me is I believe the sci-fi genre was done right here. I love robots. I am Armored Core. It was my game of the year last year. I just like robots. I like different universes where robots are fighting. The gameplay feels really rewarding because you are rewarded with your knowledge. You're rewarded with your knowledge of the game, right? You're rewarded with knowing what combos combo together. You're rewarded with knowing what your opponent's army will do. So you could be like, oh, this has a lot of flying units. Well, I'm going to get a laser unit to destroy the flying units really quickly. I love the artwork. Like I said, super into mechs, super into that grim, dark feel. And the one thing that really means a lot to me is I'm super family-oriented. And just having a family-oriented dev team is fantastic. I love seeing that. I love seeing that families get involved with the process, and I really believe that it's a building block of who we are and a lot of our experiences. So just putting that into your work, I feel like, is really rewarding and really cool, and I hope to do that as well with my work. So game number 3, and this is the one I'm probably most excited to talk about, is Moonbreaker. I am a huge Warhammer 40k fan. I can't get enough of miniature war games and building and painting models, and I'm really excited to get into this, so let's get into it. It's a virtual strategic miniature war game. So I don't know if anyone knows of miniature war games or Warhammer or any of those, but it's where you have models on a table and you get to build and then paint those models, and each model does a different thing, and you could play a war-like game. How I describe it to people is it's chess with 50 million different rules, like ranges on weapons. I'm sure you guys have seen D&D miniatures. It's kind of like that, but you get to paint them and you get to make them your own. And that's just how I could describe it the best. It's a virtual strategic miniature war game. So history, it was released February 2nd, 2024 of this year. It is published by Krafton and developed by Unknown Worlds. And if you guys don't know who Unknown World is, I'm sure you guys have heard of Subnautica. This is the studio that brought you Subnautica, which is really cool. So about the dev, the director is Charlie Cleveland. He was also the head director of the Subnautica series, which is a really good series. It was developed in Unity, and it started development in 2017. And the coolest thing about this, maybe not the coolest, but as somebody who's a huge Brandon Sanderson fan, they brought in Brandon Sanderson to do the writing of the game. So the writing and the characters are phenomenal. How they interact with each other, how they talk, the voice acting. I love this game so much. And it took inspiration from Warhammer and card games based on that. I like to think of it as rock, paper, scissors, where this unit's a tank, but he loses to speed. But if you get close to this tank, he will hurt you. And it's honestly really good. And it's based on, building up your perfect team. And we'll get into that in the gameplay. I'm sorry, I'm just really excited about this game, and I really hope everybody gives it a chance. If there's one game on this list I would tell you to give it a chance, I would do Moonbreaker 100%. So, gameplay, so you select a captain. So here you'll see somebody selected their captain. You get to select a crew, so that means you get to select a bunch of different of the other miniatures to make up your crew. It's kind of like a pirate crew that is trying to obtain these space crystals to increase their power. And what you can do is you get to do all these different combinations, and there's 3 objectives, and you play with alternating turns, and your goal is to hold these objectives and get more points than your opponents. You get points for killing, and then you win the game by either getting to the end of the round 3 or 5, and you win by having more points than your opponent, or you kill their captain. And what's really awesome about this game is, and I can't wait to get into it, is you see these miniatures right here? These are painted by players. You get a blank miniature for each of your miniatures, and they have a paint customization where you get to feel like you're painting your own miniature, which is so cool. As somebody who is into this hobby, you get to shade, you get to do all these different shadows, and it is a system where you don't have to buy the miniatures, but you still get to enjoy making something look beautiful and make it something look your style, which is so cool. And then why it inspires me, it's based off of miniature wargaming, so this is something I really want to work on. I really want to make my own virtual war game or tabletop war game, because it's really changed my life, and I really want to have my own game. As you see right here, this is what we were talking about. This is the customization. You can mix colors. So mixing, this keeps your mixes. It has all these different shades of greens, blues, reds, yellows. You get to have different washes. You can dry brush, you could decal, airbrush. You also get to sorry, I did not mean to do that. You get to do little shades. You could pick the size of brush you have, and you can zoom in and really get in there and look at the different shadows. Like these wings, you could see in like, oh, I need a shade right here, and also do a lighter color here to really grant that shadow. It's really also awesome that a game dev team brought in Brandon Sanderson to do the writing, and it's really cool to branch out to different mediums and different medias to have them come in and help you. It's a dev first team, and what you'll hear from a lot of the interviews is the devs feel like they have enough time to make fantastic games. They have full support from the director. They have sick time. It's just really awesome to see that. We don't always see that, especially against AAA companies, that they take care of their devs, which is so cool. And then I love the art direction. I am super into the fun sci-fi pirate feel where all the voice lines. I always say this, voice acting makes or breaks games. Voice acting is huge for me. Same with music direction, but mainly voice acting, because everybody remembers iconic voice lines and iconic voice actors, and it's really important to me. So having these lines being said and written, also having these written by Brandon Sanderson, which is super awesome. I really hope you guys get a chance to play this game, and thank you guys for letting me talk about these 3 games. And we'll go to the outro, is saying that there's not a game on this list where I would not recommend to anybody to pick up. I think anybody can pick these games up and have a good time, especially if you are into miniature wargaming or if you're into auto battlers. Balatro is for anybody. You could even get your mom into Balatro and she would have a good time. It is that good. These 3 games, what I loved about them, I could say my Spark Notes that all have in common is the voice acting is phenomenal with the music choice. Balatro really doesn't have voice acting, so it's probably hard to say that. It's small dev teams or an independent dev, so it makes me feel inspired that I can do this. Even if I don't get a primetime job in dev making, I can still make beautiful stories. And I just love the art direction of all these. Also, one of the main important things is sorry I didn't say this, is the gameplay loop in all of these feels like it doesn't get bored. It doesn't get boring because there's different things you can do with them. The gameplay loop is there, you know what the gameplay loop's going to be, but it does it differently. Like it's Balatro, oh, this deck is different. I have to play with hearts now, or Moonbreakers. Oh, I have a different comp. I have a different comp of all these characters that work well together. Let me hook shot let me hook shot my own sniper to bring him in to reposition to get a headshot on the captain. Or Mech Bellum is, oh, they're running a bunch of tanks, I need anti-armor. Or they're running a bunch of small things, let me run with flamers. It's a lot of different things where you have to think about it and you really have to change the way you play. So, but thank you so much, guys, for letting me talk about these games that have changed my life. I hope you guys get to play them, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say, what your games are, and I get to expand my playlist, which is really exciting. So this has been Matt Hartnett, and I'm signing off. Thank you so much. All right, bye.